Okay, so you've got a writing assignment. Your English teacher has told you that he wants you to come up with a personal narrative or some such nonsense, and he said that the writing has to be good, but you're not quite sure where to begin. You know how to write, but how do you make sure that what you write is actually worth reading? I mean, if you're going to write, you want to make sure that you write right, right? Most people think that writing comes easy, like you just sit down in front of a keyboard and it all comes flowing out of you like a faucet or something. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. The best writers, whether it's Suzanne Collins of The Hunger Games or Jeff Kinney, author of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, all put a lot of time and effort into their writing. All the best writers follow the same system. It's a process known as the writing process. And if you want to be a good writer, you'll want to do the same. So what is the writing process? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. This video will take you through all the ins and outs of the writing process that you'll be using on your upcoming assignment. The video will be around 15 minutes in length and is designed so that you can pause or back up if you need to. Just make sure that as you're viewing the video, you're also writing. Get it? Writing? All right, let's just move on. The first thing you'll need on this note-taking journey is a set of Cornell notes, something like this one. There's a spot at the top for your name, class and period, and the date, as well as the topic these notes are about. The topic, of course, is the writing process. So you need to write that at the top, right next to where it says topic/objective. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about writing. The first thing that we'll need to do is discuss our objective. You do not need to write this down, but you will want to be aware of it. Our standard objective for this lesson, there are actually two of them. The first one says we want to be able to create a multi-paragraph composition focusing on central ideas and details. The other objective that we want to be aware of is we want to be able to use written expression to draft and revise compositions. Remember, you don't have to write down the objective, but the objective is what leads us to our essential question. The essential question for this lesson is something you will want to write down, and it goes as follows. How do successful writers write? Now think about that for a moment, because our goal is to be successful at writing. So we'll want to do all of those same things that successful writers do in order to be good writers. So let's begin with summarizing what the writing process is. The writing process is just a series of steps. Follow the steps and your writing will be good. We'll start by explaining what those 5 steps are. Step 1 is pre-writing. Following pre-writing is drafting. After that is revising. After revising comes editing and proofreading. And finally, when we've gone through all the other steps, we have publishing. These are our 5 steps. Now we're going to take a closer look at each of them. The first stage of the writing process is called pre-writing. The prefix pre, when you put it in front of a word, means before. Therefore, pre-writing is all of the things that you do before writing. Pre-writing is defined as the stage of the writing process when you come up with ideas for writing and explore them. As a part of the pre-writing process, you can do one or all of the following things. You can think about what you're going to do first, talk it over with someone, create a web, make a list, create a drawing, write out a plan, outline, and the ever-popular brainstorming. Brainstorming is a process where you basically write down everything that comes to mind. The idea is to write down everything and worry about whether it's a good idea later. Brainstorming is an excellent way to come up with ideas right at the beginning of writing, and then later on in the process, when you start drafting your essay, you can decide whether those ideas are good enough. The next stage in the writing process is called drafting. This is when you actually sit down and start writing based on the plan that you just came up with. We define drafting as the stage of the writing process when you first try to create a piece of writing with a beginning, middle, and an end. As a part of the writing process, you keep your pencil moving, no matter what. Later on, you can worry about whether what you wrote is good enough. But the idea is to pick all of your best ideas, form sentences, let the writing flow, be specific, use as many details as possible, and elaborate. I guess the best way to think of it is you just keep writing, and you just keep writing, just keep writing, just keep writing, just keep writing. Just keep writing, just keep writing. Okay, that's enough. The next stage of the writing process is revising. This is after you've sat down and you've finished with your writing. Now it's time to look back at it and see if there's anything that you can do to make it better. This is the stage of the writing process when you evaluate your writing and work on making it better. Kind of like in a mechanic shop where you work on fixing a car. This is the time where you fix your writing. As a part of the revising process, you'll probably want to do the following. You'll want to organize your ideas. You'll want to rearrange things and make sure that things are in the right place. You'll want to subtract things that shouldn't be there and add things that are missing. The idea is to make sure that your writing is as good as you possibly can before you move on to the next step. Often, as a part of the revising process, you may wind up rewriting something multiple times just to make sure that you have exactly what you're looking for. Once you do that, you're ready to move on to the next step. The fourth stage in the writing process is called editing and proofreading. Now, some people will look at editing and proofreading as two different steps. We're going to look at it as a single step. Editing and proofreading is the stage of the writing process where you make sure that your writing is free of errors. It's natural and normal to make mistakes as you write, but this is the time where you take all of those mistakes and try to eliminate them. As a part of the editing and proofreading process, you want to work on things like capitalization, in punctuation like periods, question marks, and exclamation marks, spelling, making sure that you are using words correctly and that your sentence is grammatically correct. And you want to take a look at it and say, does my writing make sense? It's very natural during the editing and proofreading process to have to go back multiple times in order to find all of those errors. And sometimes it might be helpful to have other people look at your writing to make sure that it's free of errors. You don't get up until you know it's perfect. Once you do that, you're ready to move on to the final stage of the writing process. The last stage of the writing process is called publishing. This is the part of the writing where you can finally say that you are done with your writing. It's the stage of the writing process where you create a final copy to share with others. As a part of publishing, you make sure that your writing is neat, legible, and readable. You make sure that your writing is as close to perfect as you can possibly make it. And once you know it's where you want it to be, you're ready to share it with others, like Justin Timberlake. Are we done? Well, not quite. Just one more thing. Of course, no set of Cornell notes would be complete without a summary. For your summary at the end of these Cornell notes, you'll want to summarize what you learned about the writing process. Make sure your summary is no more than a sentence or two in length and that it lists all the stages of the writing process that we just discussed. And that does it for the writing process. Now that we know what the different parts of this process are, we're ready to begin writing. This is Mr. Washington saying that if you write what you love, other people will love what you write.